It's time for another Dice Tower review with Tim Jennette.
Hey everyone, this is Tim Jennette the Metal Meeple, and in this video we're taking a look at Nefarious by USAopoly, published in 2011, and it's designed by Donald X. Vaccarino. You may know him for a small game called Dominion. It's for 2 to 6 players, takes about 30 to 45 minutes, and basically each player is playing a mad scientist trying to play these cards to build their inventions, and they're worth victory points. So whoever gets 20 or more victory points wins the game. It's a simultaneous selection system, so you take a card, put it face down, everybody reveals at the same time, and you do those actions. So let me show you the overview of the game, and we'll come back and I'll tell you what I think. So here's the main board for Nefarious. This is going to start in the middle of the table, and then it has a space for the invention deck, and you can see it's quite large. You have 2 twists, which we're going to go over in a minute. These do start face up, but I'm putting them face down for right now. There's the 4 types of actions that you can do during your turn, and there's a discard pile for the inventions. Each player is going to receive $10 worth of money. You're going to get 5 spies of your color and 3 inventions off the top of the deck. In addition to that, you're going to receive your 4 action cards. Everybody gets these same 4, and they represent, like I said, these 1, 2, 3, and 4. Gameplay is pretty simple. What you're trying to do is build these inventions using these actions, and the inventions are worth victory points at the bottom of the left of the card. When a player has 20 or more points at the end of a round, that player wins the game. There's some tiebreakers. You just basically play another round until somebody is a clear victor. But each player is going to start by simultaneously selecting one of their cards. Let's just say we do work, and we place it face down in front of this. Every other player is going to do the same, and then at the same time reveal. Starting with the people who played the first action, they're going to go ahead and do those. So if anybody played espionage, those players are going to allow to place one of their spies on a zone, and it depends. They're either going to play 0 to place it on espionage or research. They're going to play 2 or pay 2 to place it on invent, the second action, or they're going to pay 1 to place it on work. So those players, say yellow played espionage, and they place one on invent here, that would cost them 2, and then red plays also on work, and it costs them 1. Now more on that in just a second, but once you're done playing 1s, then everybody who played 2s will now get to go as well. Those players will build an invention card if they can meet the requirements of their invention. So in this case, like I said, we start with $10. We could spend 6 of it if we played the invent action to build this into a prototype form. Prototype is an invention card that's played in front of you on the table for permanently. So I would get 2 victory points, and then you have some symbols here. This one says the green ones are arrows pointing at you, the red ones are pointing at other players. Greens mean that you would get a card for every prototype that you have built. This one would be every other player loses a card from their hand, an invention card, and you get to add a spy to one of the zones. This one is simply you get these 3 things. You get a card, money, and get to place a spy. And you can see there's not too many more things. Some are just worth victory points. Some will give you negative money, plus and minus a card, etc., etc., etc. They're pretty basic as far as what they're actually doing. The third type of action is research. Once all players have done the 2s that played the 2 card, any player that played 3 can now gain $2 and also draw an invention card from the top of the deck. And lastly, work is just those players would get $4. Now, in future rounds, when everybody puts their card face down, then reveals, at that point, that's where your spies come in before all these actions start getting resolved. Before cards are resolved, but after they're revealed, every player to your left and right who played an action of where you've got a spy, they're going to owe you money. Or sorry, that you get money from the bank, not from the players. But so say for instance I'm yellow and I have a yellow guy, a spy on invent. If the player to my left or right plays invent, I will get $1 for each player who did. If I had 2 spies there, I would get $2 for each player to my left or right who played, $3, and so on and so forth. Now, after that, you would do the actions that you revealed. I would go ahead and do my 1. Other people would do their 2, 3, and 4s, etc. you can see that it's a pretty fast game. You place a card, you reveal, you do all these, or you get money, do all these actions, and then players are going to have victory points in front of them from these inventions. And then once somebody gets 20 or more, they're going to win the game. Now these twists are also in play, and since you know the basic rules of the game, that these twists will modify those. So for instance, this one, the work card, which is the number 4 action, will produce $6 instead of 4. This one, you have +1 VP for every $5 that you have. So these are just kind of some small little twists on the main rules of the game, but you can see there are plenty of these in the box. I mean, there's tons, and you only use 2 of these each game. Even if you just cycle those 2 out and draw 2 new ones, you can play this probably 20 times or so with all new stuff. So you can see here, you can't play the same action twice in a row, although normally you can. You leave the previous action out on the table to show which one you played last turn. At the start of your turn, if you have no inventions, gain $2. Actions do their effects twice. You do them, then do them again. You collect double money from spies. You can see there's all kinds of different twists here that do different things on the game, and the different combinations actually work interestingly too. So one twist might work similar or just normally, but if you compare it with another twist or combine it with another twist, it actually gets more powerful, so on and so forth. So anyway, whoever has 20 or more victory points at the end of a round is the winner. And there you have it. That is an overview of Nefarious. Now, as a disclaimer, I did receive this as a review copy from USAopoly. This game is a very basic gateway game, and it's kind of interesting because the different groups that I played it with, some really did not like it. They thought it was way too weak as far as what's going on. Some people understood, I guess, what the concept is. It's like you want to introduce people to the hobby. This is definitely a go-to game. I don't think this is really for gamers, but I don't think it was designed for that anyway. It definitely is very basic. There's only basically 4 actions that you're doing. You put a card down, you flip it over, you do what it says. It's very simple. There's not a lot of planning as far as like ahead, many turns. So, take out for what you will. I think that's, if you have a family of people that aren't really gamers, this is going to appeal a lot to them because it is a gateway game. But it's on the low end of gateway games, so as you play it, then you're going to get into all these other games and be like, oh, this is really cool. There's a lot of games that do the similar thing, but a little bit better, which is interesting because the game has a ton of twists that come in the box, and these twists are kind of like it's like a good and a bad thing because some of the twists aren't very great. I don't think they kind of steal some of the fun away from the game, but a lot of the twists actually add some cool mechanisms to the game, even if they're very simple, like the one I showed you where it's like, yeah, the work is now worth 6 instead of 4. That kind of just speeds the game up a little bit because you can get more money faster. But for the most part, the twists are kind of neat. The same twist working with another twist might change based on that twist, so it's kind of cool to see those interactions. The only concern I have here is I don't know of anybody, or at least the people I've spoke with, who would play this enough times to really go through all those twists over and over and over and kind of weed out the ones they didn't like and kind of make a core set of twists, So, but that might just be because most of the people that I hang out with and play games with are gamers, or heavier gamers, obviously. So I have played this with some other people, and it was a good, a mixed result. So keep that in mind as you're listening to the rest of this anyway. One thing that is kind of interesting though is the artwork's really cool. It's pretty much acceptable to anybody. It's just kind of that fun cartoonish style artwork. The inventions have some awesome funny names. They're just hilarious to read. I really like those. But I will say that they're not very varied in the abilities. You play it, you get more cards, you get more gold, other people lose cards, etc. It's cool. I mean, there's enough there to make them to have a lot of different inventions. But at the same time, there's not enough going on to really make them very interesting. Most of the game's interest comes from the twists that add to the game. But again, you got to keep in mind this is a gateway style game to appeal to everyone. So I like the spies. I think there was a cool little neat inclusion to the game because you can get some money off people because they might be playing certain cards. But it's kind of random because you don't really know what they're going to play. You kind of get an idea, but for the most part, you're just putting spies out there, and it kind of is dictated by those twists, right? Because if the one is out to make the work more expensive, put some spies on that because more people are going to play the work card. And that's the last thing I'll end on this, is that the twists sometimes might dictate the strategy of the game too much, because it just makes obvious sense that if you just follow what the twists are doing, in certain cases, that you're getting the maximum payout every time. So if you don't really follow those twists, you can fall behind after 2 or 3 rounds really quickly. So either way, if it sounds interesting, try it out. I think that if you have a family of non-gamers, this will be a big hit. Although I think it will quickly be replaced by other games, possibly, if your group is going to merge and evolve into the gaming hobby. Otherwise, if you're a huge gamer and all you play with are gamers, this is probably one that you need to that can just pass right over, because it's not going to add anything that you haven't already seen. And like I said, other games are going to do it a lot deeper than this is. But again, that's not what the design's for. So anyway, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to comment below, follow or message me, or sorry, email me at the email below. Follow me on the social media handle listed over here. Check out my podcast at Meeplecore. And until next time, keep on rocking and rolling dice.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.